What are the 10 biggest offseason questions for the Rams? Also, how much will it cost to keep their free agents? And is Tyreek Hill a realistic option for the Rams? We'll talk more about that. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do me a huge favor, subscribe, mash the like button, also leave a comment. Podcast listeners, write us a review. We'll read it on the show. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMac_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade. 24/7 Sports, Bleach Report, Dodgers Nation, the LA Sports Report, also at NFL Radio for Westwood One. The People's Champ, Mr. Travis Rogers, out today. We'll be back tomorrow. On today's episode, though, we are answering the biggest questions for the Rams. What are they? What could those answers be? Also, Tyreek Hill, is that a pipe dream? Is it realistic? We kind of talked about it yesterday. We'll kind of follow up a little bit on that. And how much will it cost to keep the Rams free agents in the horns? But first, today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by FanDuel. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right. So, first thing that we have to get into here is there's been more talk about Tyreek Hill and the Rams. Now, the Rams certainly aren't a team that's one of the favorites to sign him or anything like that. But when you look at where the Rams are at right now, if they're looking to make a big splash, the first question is, which of their free agents should they let walk? And let's start with Tutu Atwell. It's time for the Rams to move on from Tutu. They should have let him walk last season before they gave him $10 million to bring him back. But this time around, he won't be coming back. After that, you get offensive tackle DJ Humphries. He looked like he was going to be a really good depth piece, a guy that had success in this league at a Pro Bowl level, but he was absolutely awful. Week 17 against the Falcons, he was atrocious. And the Rams are going to have to look for some more depth pieces, but you got a better option out there than DJ Humphries. You need a swing tackle, and that's some of the Rams really need. They need to find a swing tackle that's cheap, that they can trust, that you can fill into that role, because right now your tackle position is set with Warren McClendon Jr. taking over Rob Havenstein at right tackle, and then Alaric Jackson at left tackle. Then you got Akello Witherspoon. The only issue with Akello is the durability. When he's on the field, he can be of some service. He can be a solid, high upside, low risk, high reward type of player, but he just played 6 games, and he had that clavicle injury. He was a healthy scratch against the Lions. So even when he was fully healthy, they didn't absolutely love him for the entire season. And I go back to what Les Snead said, Rams general manager, at the end of the season. He said they're going to, quote, attack the cornerback position this offseason. So it feels to me, it's obvious to you, that they're going to overhaul that position. They know they need to have an influx of talent there, and it feels like right now Akello Witherspoon's time with the Rams could be over. He's going to be 31 years old. The injuries have piled up, and the Rams know they just need more quality at that position. Now, some deeper ones that you expect the Rams to let walk, offensive tackle David Quessenberry. Just like DJ Humphries, they need to move on from him at that spot. You need to think younger, because when you get younger, they're more impressionable. You can develop younger. It's tough to teach an old dog new tricks at that position. I think that what the Rams did with Warren McClendon Jr., you had a young guy in your system, you developed him, and he was able to turn the corner, and now he's going to be the starting right tackle for you. So last season, Quessenberry, he didn't play very much. He's turning 36 in August, so they're going to move on from him. Darion Kendrick, he returned to the Rams after the Seahawks cut him. He didn't get an opportunity to help the defense. He didn't get playing time. The Rams, like we said, they're going to make some big changes, and they end up cutting Darion Kendrick last season to save money, so he's not going to be back in the last one. A tight end that maybe some haven't really talked about at all is Nick Vanett. Now, he was a veteran. He was a depth guy. He got 0 targets his entire season. You could use some more tight end depth with Tyler Higbee retiring and Vanett leaving, but maybe you could draft a tight end late in this draft or just get a reclamation project, because the truth is the top of the tight end spot is set with Terrence Ferguson, with Davis Allen, and you got pieces you feel good about. And Colby Parkinson, when he was good last season, he was really good. Let's not forget, one of the biggest catches all year, if not the biggest catch all year, was Colby Parkinson's catch against the Panthers in the wild card round that essentially won them that football game. So before you start to sign guys, you look at the guys that you let walk. And that exercise was to tell you that the guys that they're going to let walk, you don't feel bad at all. Like, you know that those guys weren't going to continue their career with the Rams. Now the question is, how do you project the free agents for the Rams as far as how much they're going to cost? Well, their biggest free agent that they would consider keeping would be safety Cameron Curl, who's going to be looking for a deal in the 4 years, $65 million range. He could end up being one of the highest paid safeties in the National Football League. He's got that versatility. He can cover deep. He can support the run and play near the line of scrimmage. So that kind of versatility is extremely valuable, especially right now in the NFL. And considering the Rams, they did get a new deal done with safety Quinn Lake, that could be a situation where Cameron Curl is gone. And that's going to be a tough decision. They don't like to invest a lot of money at that position. Tyler Higbee, he has not made it clear whether or not he plans to play in 2026. That remains to be seen. If he does want to come back, it would be on a very low deal. Something 1 year, $6 million, $7 million, something in that world. And Colby Parkinson making $7.5 million next season. I think Big Rig Hig, I think this is his time to, even if he does come back, to go the other direction if you're the Rams. Another possible cornerback option if everything fails, Roger McCreary. He's projected to make anywhere from 3 years, $36 million, something in that range. He's going to be a free agent. He didn't get a very big runway with the Rams to prove to this coaching staff that he was worth considering. So, look, had he played well, had he not have the hip injury, by the way, he had that hip injury on his very first defensive snap that sent him on the IR, and he came back and he got some opportunities in the playoffs. But the truth is that trade ended up being a dud for the most part. They didn't get a lot of value on that. They didn't give up anything to really get him, but he didn't do enough to kind of say, okay, he's the guy we want to invest in. Then there's Kobe Durant. He's projected to make anywhere from 4 years to 41, 4 years, $45 million, something in that world. He's going to be making more money on the open market than Roger McCreary, but he's a cornerback 2 at best. He's not a CB1. You got Emmanuel Forbes in the mix. Durant, we know the ball shark can get you takeaways occasionally. The size, though, I think that is what prevents him from being the kind of cornerback that you would hope that he would be. And when he has to match up with bigger, more physical receivers, he tends to struggle. So I really look at all these guys I just mentioned, the Durants, McCreary's, Higbee, gone. Cameron Curl is a good player for sure, that under the right price and circumstances, he could help this team. But kind of taking you back to Tyreek Hill, look, I mean, does he fit with what the Rams tend to do coming off an injury? Maybe not. But still, we're talking about a 5-time All-Pro, and he says he's going to come back bigger and better and faster than ever. He said on his Instagram yesterday, every chapter in life has taught me something. This one taught me leadership, resilience, and mostly gratitude. The love I have for this game is unexplainable. And right now, this offseason, for the first time ever, the cheetah is all the way turned up and locked in focus. The cheetah don't slow down ever. So, look, all I'm saying is this. If he wanted to come to the Rams on a big pay cut, I'd be willing to look past some of the drama, look past some of the reputation about it, because I think that Sean McVay and Les Snead have such a good read on people at this point and players to know that, hey, he would be worth it or he would not be worth it. And from a player standpoint, he could be worth it. From a what he could do to your locker room standpoint, considering how strong the foundation is, I just don't think anyone from the outside could break this group. I really don't. So if he wanted to reestablish his market with the Rams, and we saw what he did with the Dolphins at the peak of his powers when he was arguably the best player in the NFL at one point, really, offensively, there's no doubt about it. It's going to be interesting. I just know the Rams are going to look to improve at all areas that need to be improved upon, and can you imagine Hill joining Puka, joining Devontae Adams? Not saying it's likely, but I just want to point out that I like what I've heard so far about how Hill is tackling this offseason. And he screams to me a guy that wants to get back to being the player that he was before the injury, before being with the Dolphins team that had Tua Tagovailoa and McDaniels and a team that really just kind of fell apart. So it's interesting. That's all I'm going to say. And if you look at kind of the odds, the Rams are kind of in the top 10, something like that, right, to possibly lure him. But coming up next, we're going to continue our series on the biggest questions the Rams have to answer this offseason. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever just to hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employment forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get your updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file your taxes last year, just file by February 28th. Take your taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. And we're off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Also, a big shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Cannot thank you enough. If you haven't yet, do me a huge favor, by the way. Join the Everyday Listeners Club. Go to lockedonrams.supercast.com to join today. You get access to ad-free audio, a members-only Discord, which I am a part of, exclusive merch, exclusive content, and you support the show, and you take your Rams fandom to the next level. Okay, let's get back into the mix. What are the big questions that need to be answered this offseason? Let's lay them all out there. We've kind of talked about them in a couple of different ways, but I want to just put them on paper in Sharpie, because if they answer these questions and they figure these things out, I'm confident they win the Super Bowl in 2027. So the first big question you want to see the Rams answer is, can you fix your special teams unit? Can you make them a middle of the pack, at the very least, unit? I'm not asking for them to be the best special teams unit in the league. I just don't want them to be among the worst, because there's not a lot of teams that you could say that special teams derailed their entire season. And the truth is, the Rams should have had their best regular season in franchise history, if not for some collapsed losses due to special teams. The most namely one that stands out is early in the season, the 2 blocked field goals against the Philadelphia Eagles, and then you go to week 16 against the Seahawks when they had an opportunity to all but lock up and just stay in the driver's seat for the 1 seed. You give the big kick return for a touchdown to Rashid Shaheed that totally turned that game around. Then even in the Panthers game, you had a block punt that ended up being catastrophic. And then we saw in the game that they lost how fitting it was. Xavier Smith, he muffs a punt, the Seahawks score, and the Rams are chasing them all afternoon. So Seahawks was an unmitigated, flat-out, catastrophic disaster for the Rams. And I think it's not hyperbole to suggest that it went a long way in costing them an opportunity to be Super Bowl champions. And with the Rams, you have at least set out a vision and given the keys to the special teams unit to a new person and a new coach in Bubba Ventrone. He's the new coordinator. You got Kyle Hoke as the assistant. We'll see. Will Harrison Mevis, who is a free agent, could he come back? And how do they feel about Harrison Mevis as their kicker? Was it just a situation where he was just so much better than Joshua Carty, and how bad was Joshua Carty that it just kind of made us feel like anything was better? Well, look, Harrison Mevis was a cool thing is that he was top 10 in kick value added. It's a newer stat. The Rams used 2 kickers in 2025, Joshua Carty and Harrison Mevis. We know Carty, second season with the Rams, they spent draft capital. They drafted him out of Stanford. Was no Carty parties. It was not good at the end. But this new stat, it's KVA, kick value added, which this is how it's described. It, quote, measures how much value a kicker actually adds or costs relative to league expectations from the same distances across the field. Well, Carty and Mevis, very different. So the reason why I believe in this stat is because this stat says Mevis was good and Carty was bad, right? And Carty, he finished 42 out of 43 for kickers, a minus 11.0817 KVA. Harrison Mevis, though, number 8, a 7.2249 KVA. So that's all I need to know is like the eye test matches the deeper analytics, and Carty goes 10 for 15. Carty went 10 for 15. He missed 3 extra points. Mevis, though, 12 for 13, hit all 39 of his extra points after taking over for Joshua Carty in Week 10. So I don't think he's going to be this Greg Zuerlein, Greg the Leg, or Legatron, or just this ultra-elite kicker. But with the Rams, you don't need that because the Rams are going to be scoring a lot of touchdowns. You need a kicker that can make the makeables, that's not going to lose you the game. And then on top of that, you need a special teams unit that's going to be able to block, that's going to be able to do the little things to avoid kick returns for touchdowns. And also the punt game, the kickoff game, just the entire operation was substandard. So I look at the thicker kicker, Harrison Mevis. I think he's the right guy for the job. I truly do. And I think that they have found something in him that if you combine him with someone that was better than Chase Blackburn, who by all accounts, his best asset was that he was fun to be around, quote unquote, and that he was a good golfer, and that's part of the reason why he was kept around as long as he was, which I know that sounds insane to even think about. But point is that Blackburn was such a likable guy that they kept him around longer than he should have. Well, now you got a new unit, and then you got a kicker that could be the guy. So I look at it this way. If you had gotten that production from Harrison Mevis the entire season, I think there's a world where you say the Rams won the Super Bowl in 2025 and 2026. Hate to say it. It sounds like sour grapes, but it is that important. The Rams special teams was a special kind of special, and that is they were especially bad. We needed them to be good, and it really cost them all season long. But coming up next, more questions the Rams need to answer this offseason. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. Ever want to experience the NBA Finals live and in person? FanDuel is giving you your chance to turn that dream into a reality with the NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, and the whole experience. If you've already are looking forward to winning and making money and finding a way on FanDuel, if you're already looking at the board and thinking about which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock in. I love futures this time of year, whether it's picking a team to win the championship or to grab a conference title. It adds that extra layer of excitement to every game down the stretch. And now, not only can your pick cash in, but it could also send you to the finals. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports book betting partner of the NBA. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, next biggest question for the Rams. What will they do at the cornerback position? We've talked about this. Kobe Durant, Akella Witherspoon, Roger McCreary, all pending free agents. Darius Williams, when you look at his salary, he's likely to be cut. That leaves the Rams CB room with Emmanuel Forbes Jr. He's the only boundary corner. He's the only guy that has the potential to return with this group. He wasn't great, but they still are developing him. He did have some flashes last season. Like we talked about at the top of the show, the Rams are going to attack the cornerback room with a lot of intent, and they're going to emphasize it as high as any other position. It is the priority. Now, the big question, though, is do you use your first-round picks on it? Do you make a big free agent signing there? And the Rams going to have to decide what they're going to do. The good news is you look at some of the cornerbacks available, they don't have those all-world, like Patrick Surtain level ones that you're going to want to take with a high pick. The first one that's projected to come off the board is Jermod McCoy from Tennessee. He's projected to go 9. Behind him, Avion Terrell out of Clemson, projected to go 12. Then after that, Mansour Delane, LSU at 24. I've seen Delane projected higher in other mocks, but this is NFL.com's. And then behind him, you got Brandon Cease out of South Carolina. You got Absney out of Arizona State. You got D'Angelo Pons out of Indiana. Chris Johnson out of San Diego State. Colton Hood out of Tennessee. So there are names that they could use a high draft pick on. Might have to trade up a little bit to get Jermod McCoy or one of the top cornerbacks, the number one available guys. But I don't think they should use draft capital at the very top on a cornerback. I know that this is not an opinion held by a lot of analysts out there because they feel like they should just, okay, you need a cornerback, get one in the draft. I want to see them go after a Jamel Dean type, one of the top free agent level cornerbacks. Or, I mean, we talked about Trent McDuffie for the Chiefs, names like that. Like, I need an established cornerback because let's not forget how difficult that position is. You are playing the entire game of football in reverse. And the truth is, look, could other draft picks at the top, even if they're a receiver, even if it's a lineman or whatever position they are, could they still have bust factor because they're a lottery ticket? Yes, no doubt about it. But you have players in place to, if you, let's say, like you said, my perfect scenario, you get Mekhi Lemon out of USC, he doesn't work out, it wouldn't be the end of the world, right? But if you were to draft a cornerback with your top pick and he doesn't work out, or it's going to take longer than a couple years to kind of get him to be a true number one cornerback in this league, then you're screwed. Like, then you have nowhere to go. So that's why I think you go veteran with the cornerback and you acquire said player via free agency or via the trade market, and then you kind of have some fun with the draft pick, whether that be getting a playmaker, using that pick to trade for an established player. I just don't think that you're in a position with potentially 1 year left of Matthew Stafford. And look, you're just taking it year to year. Like, even if Matthew Stafford plays 5 more years, you have to treat next year like it's his final season because there's just no guarantees. You're always year to year with a quarterback in his late 30s and the contract status as well. So that's why I personally wouldn't use my top pick on a cornerback. And I think it would be a mistake, quite frankly. I'd go as far as to say that. Next big question. Will Puka Nacua get a big bag this offseason? Are they going to wait on the other possible names? Because, yes, I get videos sent to me every day from you guys out there in the Ramley saying Puka Nacua has lost his marbles. He's dating like a 39-year-old WWE superstar. He's out dancing, and every video you see, he's kind of dancing. He looks like he's just kind of nutso for sure. I'll say this. I'm not going to get worried until I see his production drop on the football field. And the truth is, last season, production-wise, Puka Nacua was absolutely elite, right up there with Jackson Smith and Jigba as the most productive wide receivers in the National Football League. So until I see his off-the-field behavior impact his on-field production, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. If it happens, though, it'll be quick, but I'm not going to do it. Now, it makes you wonder, though, about that rookie class. The 2023 drafts, the guys they picked up, because Puka Nacua, I think, needs to be one of the top priorities this offseason. He's already established himself as an elite player, and if you let him get close to free agency, you are making another mistake, because you get a deal done with him, you're going to save some money. Just look at how poorly Jerry Jones has handled some players, the CeeDee Lambs, guys like that. The longer you wait, the more they're going to cost. And I think Puka Nacua loves being a Ram, and he wants to be a part of this organization that drafted him, that has helped develop him to being one of the best players in the sport. Then I think you could get a deal done. So look, this is a guy making $1 million, and he's talked about, he can't afford to live in LA because it's so expensive. He's going to want to get that bag. And I think that would be a really good way of kind of wiping past this whole, the season's kind of behind us, right? The season's kind of all the ups and downs of the season as far as on the field, off the field. It would be a nice, fresh kind of reset for Puka Nacua. And then behind him, you got guys like Kobe Turner, guys like Steve Avila. Byron Young's entering the final year in his deal. The Rams are going to need to actually make sure that they have to make sure that the guys they want to commit to from that class, that financially they have the contracts and the money, quite frankly, to make that player happy and the Rams happy with them for their future in those roles. So that's going to be a big one. I think they're going to get a deal done. I personally do. I really think a deal is going to get done this offseason. And we're starting to get just more answers to these questions. I mean, another big question, and we kind of alluded to these throughout the show, how are they going to use that draft capital in the first round? That, to me, is one of the most fascinating questions about the Rams this offseason. You got that extra first-round pick because the Falcons got James Pierce, who ended up being kind of a wacko, even though he was a really good player towards the end of the season. But, yeah, Google is your friend if you want to know more about that. But they have two picks in the first round. And when you have 2 picks in the first round, you can get creative. If there's a player you really like, you can trade up. You also can have the luxury of getting quality at multiple positions. And I think the sneaky thing they're going to do is give Matthew Stafford another weapon. But also, do you go out there and draft Ty Simpson out of Alabama? And I think that's something that is very possible. Just not necessarily him particularly, but I think it's possible that you do go out there and you make a deal for a quarterback as far as maybe just getting someone into the fold just so you have some options. For me personally, I'm all about 2026 and 2027, but based on what we've heard, based on what we've seen, it certainly is a possibility. And then the next big question too, what will the logo look like? Are they going to go back to that 70s Ram horn with the skeleton? Are they going to just give us something new? How are the new uniforms going to look like? Can't wait to see, because the draft is pretty close and you're going to get that reveal before the draft. It's going to be very exciting anytime you get new uniforms, a new logo set, because let's be honest, I think they botched the rebrand in 2020 and they're very excited about the opportunity to kind of do it right this time around. But we'll answer more questions tomorrow throughout this series. We got 6 more to go. That's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.